So welcome to this video. We're going to talk about how long it takes to render files inside of Client Funnels, and by rendering we mean things like your webinar file, etc., to get it ready to be able to display on your webinar room as people play. So first things first is let me just explain kind of what the process is and why. Obviously it's just kind of uploading files. It's not just as simple as that. So the reason we get such high view rates, like 65%, on your webinar is because we actually take a file that you give us and we basically convert it into multiple qualities of that file. So think of it like taking a picture. If you took a picture with like the highest, best possible grade camera, obviously if you then try to view that on an older camera, it probably wouldn't display at that quality. So therefore it kind of struggles and it takes a long time to process it to then actually display it. So whereas what we do is we take the file that you give us, in this case let's say your webinar recording, which is a 60-minute file, and what we then do is start converting it into multiple different format qualities to ensure that if someone is viewing it on like a mobile phone, then we've made the video the right size for that mobile phone. If someone is watching it on a brand new Mac that's very quick and powerful and got really quick internet, then we've obviously rendered the file. We've made a file to match that type of person. If we've got someone who's like on the oldest version of Windows Media, has got a laptop from 1980 or something, or a desktop from 1980 with one of those big old fat round monitors, it's like a big glass tube and weighs half a ton, then we've worked out how to render that video to make sure it plays back, again depending on their internet connection. So that's why this isn't just as simple as taking your video file and just sticking it on a page, which is a lot of other software do that. We're very proud here to ensure that we give the best possible file and create a best possible file based on what the person's setup is, which is why we get very high view rates of 65%. Most other softwares can get as low as 30% based on that view rate. Okay, so that's why we have this process, and we call it rendering. And like I say, all we're doing is converting it multiple times. Okay, on average we'll do about 16 variations of said file to make sure we got all the variations. Sometimes less, but most of the time it's about 16 different times we're taking your file and converting it. So that's why it can take a while to do the rendering process. All right, so that's just why that is. But obviously let's just show you it kind of in action. We click the media button to upload a webinar. We click upload new media like so. Okay, and depending on things like your speed and internet connection, you select the video. Now obviously please be aware there's two file types that we accept. Just again, because of that conversion process, we need the right file to begin with, otherwise we end up with a bad file. So we need either an MP4 or WMV file. No other formats will work and our system will reject them, so please be aware. And the other thing to be aware of is 2 GB is the file size, the maximum that we can upload. Again, this is just purely because we know the average file size for a webinar, for a 90-minute webinar, could be around 1 GB. Okay, you might be a bit more for your 50-minute video or whatever, it doesn't matter, but we know that if your webinar's like over 2 hours, it's way too long anyway, so there's never ever going to be a need for you to get anywhere near this 2 GB issue. Okay, so the key thing is that it's there, okay, and there's plenty of space, so you don't need to worry. So depending on your internet speed, you're going to click upload video like so. You're then going to select the relevant video that you want to upload, again making sure it's the right format. So I've got an MP4 here. I'm going to click up, and now what it will do is back on the media list it says video rendering in progress. Okay, so now this can take, depending on the size of the file, like this one here is a 30-minute file, so it can take as long as it needs to take. Now it depends on a number of factors how long it could take. It could take as little as a couple of hours. It could take as little as 2 minutes. It could take as little as 2-3 hours. It'll give you an estimate here of how long it's going to be. Okay, it's not a definite. It may be quicker than that, so feel free to check back, but I highly suggest you kind of get ahead of the game and think, what video files do I need to upload to allow us to render them in good enough time so they're ready to then go and create your campaign when you want to actually go and do that. Alright, so my advice to you would be, we'll get them up early, let them render. Like I say, it shouldn't take more than kind of, I'd say the maximum is going to be maybe 5 or 6 hours, possibly 12 hours at very most, the most biggest file that you would upload. But in most cases, within a couple of hours, the video will be ready to go. So that's the rendering process, what it is, how it works, and why it sometimes can take longer than what you think, because a 30-minute video should only take 30 minutes. That's not why, because we're actually not just uploading the file, we're converting it into multiple formats. So that's the rendering process and why rendering might take a little while longer than what you think.